itself as Small Town USA. In fact, it holds the Travel Channel title for Missouri's most charming town. It is the birthplace of literary giant Mark Twain. The town's supposed to be as Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer as it gets. But if you really look into it, there's a darker side to this city. And those on the east side of town have a 1 in 17 risk of becoming a crime victim. And truthfully, no story may better illustrate that point than the disappearance of 21-year-old Christina Whitaker. If you start to dig into this case, you'll quickly realize a couple things, just as I did. Eyewitness accounts contradict each other. Details don't make sense, and local secrets sort of simmer beneath the surface. Trying to sift through the inconsistencies of this case was pretty bewildering, and I hope that I narrowed it down enough to make some sense for you. Unfortunately, Christina remains missing. She vanished without a trace on November 13th, 2009. Some people would say that her case is cold, ice cold. But again, there's more to this case than meets the eye. From whispers of domestic violence to human trafficking, more must have happened on that night than people are willing to reveal. Family and loved ones described Christina as completely full of life, a woman who was kind to everyone that she encountered. They said that no matter what life threw at her, she always had a smile on her face. She was the kind of person that always tried to make people laugh. She just wanted to take care of the people around her. And she was a very warm and loving, trusting person. On that fateful Friday, November 13th, 2009, Christina was last seen outside of a couple of sports bars there in Hannibal. The night began at a place called Rookies, located at 1611 Broadway on the east side of town. Some people say that she met friends at the bar, and apparently it marked the young mother's first night out after giving birth to her daughter about 6 months earlier. But accounts say that the night took a dramatic turn for the worse, roughly at about 11:45 p.m. According to some people, Christina got a little rowdy after drinking too much, and because of this, the bartender kicked her out of the bar. Unfortunately, her really great, awesome friends refused to leave with her, and Christina found herself drunk, rideless, alone, and cold outside in November. Christina's mother, Cindy, claimed that her daughter begged the bartender Christina behave that night. Again, it's kind of pretty unfathomable to think that no one would help a local girl in a town of 17,000 people. I mean, it was kind of late at night, so really, how many people did she actually run into? But she did start the evening in the company of friends, and it just seems strange that no one would just give her a ride home really fast. So what happens next? Unable to secure her way home, eyewitnesses say they saw Christina crying and running out of the back of the Sportsman's Bar, and no one has seen her in Hannibal, Missouri since that night. I say in Hannibal because we're going to talk about some sightings, potential sightings of her. Apparently, the bartender at the Sportsman said he did ask her if she was okay or if he could call, a ride for her, I guess a cab, but maybe she didn't have the money. Later, when authorities started investigating this case, they discovered Christina's phone a few yards from the Sportsman in front of an apartment complex on the 200 block of 7th Street. Although Christina's frantic fright took place in a commercial area with multiple bars and businesses, no surveillance footage of that night has ever come out. I find it really hard to believe that nothing caught her on CCTV footage. Now it was 2009, but still, no one. Christina Whitaker did not have the proper clothing to ward off a cold night in November in Missouri. She was dressed for a night out at the bar. People last saw her wearing jeans, a pink tank top, a white half-sleeve shirt, and white and pink Nikes. She stood about 5'5" and weighed between 120 and 130 pounds. Christina has brown eyes, reddish brown hair, and a variety of distinctive scars and tattoos, including a Care Bear on her ankle and a large angel on her back. She lived with her mother in the Oakwood neighborhood, roughly a 6-minute drive from Rookies, and approximately a 52-minute walk. Recently, she'd been arrested for driving with a revoked license. Another reason why she wasn't driving that night. She did miss a court date after her disappearance, and now there's a warrant out for her arrest. Christina suffered from fibromyalgia, anxiety attacks, and bipolar disorder, for which she took daily medication. People wondered, could these meds that she took have interacted badly with the alcohol that she drank? According to drugs.com, interactions between bipolar medicines and alcohol could prove incredibly dangerous. After all, bipolar medications impact specific chemicals in the central nervous system, resulting in memory loss, dizziness, increased risks of falling, and confusion. What's more, drinking and consuming bipolar medications impairs your judgment, makes you more impulsive, increase the risk of suicide, injury, hospitalization. It's just a veritable smorgasbord of issues. Later, more pieces would, of course, get added to the puzzle of her disappearance. The Las Vegas World News reported that Christina Whitaker's then boyfriend, a man named Travis Blackwell, received a phone call from her at approximately 10:30 p.m. to check in with him. He had stayed at her mother's house, Cindy, to babysit Christina's 6-month-old baby girl, Alexandria, while Christina hung out with her friends. Christina had told Travis at 10:30 she had a ride home and she would be home around midnight after she stopped at a restaurant to pick him up some food. But of course, Christina never showed up. boys notified Cindy that her daughter had never returned home. He stayed with the baby until he could find a family member to watch her. And yet, Cindy Young waited until Sunday to file a missing persons report on her daughter. I'm not sure if she thought she had to wait 24 hours or what, but it's a big glitch in this case. Christina also missed taking her medicine, which caused further alarm for people that knew her. People hypothesize that Christina may have disappeared more than her family let on, but Cindy swore that Christina had never been gone for more than 2 days in her entire life. To me, 2 days is still a lot, but Cindy describes her daughter as mentally fragile, naive, and prone to childlike behavior. In an interview that she gave, she said that Christina may also suffer from depression, exacerbated by postpartum depression. This characterization of Christina's genuine vulnerabilities only really serves to underscore her potential for endangerment. It also kind of sheds a harsh light on her friends and family, raising a lot of questions about why they waited so long to contact police. Why no alarm by Saturday night when this mentally fragile woman hasn't shown up? I thought it was really mean that her mother called her mentally fragile, and I would be angry if someone described me like that, so that's why I quote it, because it just made me mad. Why didn't Cindy call these friends that left her at the bar that night? Those aren't friends, I mean, really. But, and as for Travis, why didn't he wait for Christina to show up? Perhaps, yeah, you could excuse all this stuff away, but it just seems like too many things don't add up. The Hannibal Police Department played the devil's advocate, claiming that neither Cindy nor Travis acted outside of what normal people would have done. According to Captain Jim Hark, he says, "It's not uncommon for a person to be gone for a day or two, but after that we really start taking a hard look at what's going on." Nevertheless, even casual onlookers realize that holes exist in the stories spun by Cindy and Travis in the hours and days following Christina's vanishing. 82 days after Christina's disappearance, Steve Wilkos invited her family and her friends to appear on an episode of his show called "Did You Kill Christina?" Many previously undisclosed details surfaced in this episode. I didn't watch it, but I found a transcript. Cindy accused Travis of showing no concern or emotion following Christina's disappearance. I mean, this is your girlfriend, shouldn't you be upset? She also stated that the 10:30 p.m. phone call between he and Christina likely involved a heated argument. Cindy also claimed that her caller ID showed Christina had called again, and a couple other family members in the house confirmed that they heard the phone ring, but Travis refused to answer. According to another interview, Cindy said other family members at the house included Christina's brother and his girlfriend, but why they didn't pick up the phone remains unexplained. Christina's friend, the earlier mentioned Brianna, who didn't want to get arrested, corroborated the phone call fight in her interview with Steve Wilkos. She said Christina had gotten kicked out of Rookies for yelling into the phone at Travis. She also claimed that there was a history of extreme domestic violence that existed between the two of them. The show culminated with the results of Travis's 2 failed lie detector tests regarding Christina's disappearance. And it started to look like a slam dunk case, right? Okay, the boyfriend's failing interview published after the February 2010 airing of the show, she said Travis would never hurt her daughter. She also said that he passed a lie detector test that was administered through the Animal Police Department. Cindy even used the presence of her son and his girlfriend at the house as an alibi for Travis Blackwell. Cindy's contradictory testimony proved kind of mind-boggling to viewers of the show. It also kind of begged the question, is anybody telling the truth? Ever? If Travis wasn't involved in Christina's disappearance, then what happened to her? As the days stretched into weeks, Cindy Young's concerns grew that her daughter may have fallen prey to a predator. Within 2 weeks of Christina's disappearance, an informant gave the Animal Police Department its first solid lead. This informant claimed a group of men dealing in sex work and drugs had trafficked Christina to Peoria, Illinois, where she then worked in the sex trade. So Cindy started driving from Hannibal to Peoria, which is a couple-hour drive, questioning locals about her daughter's whereabouts, and a private investigator scoured the city. Officer Doug Burgess of the Peoria Police Department said, "We do have prostitution and drug activity here. As far as human trafficking, we don't see it all that much. I've never seen it in my career here." There have been reported sightings of Christina Whitaker in Peoria, Illinois, adding fuel about the speculation of her vanishing. The Las Vegas World News reported a waitress named Beth Taylor, who worked at Radine's County Cafe in Grave Corps, which is also in Missouri. She swore that she saw Christina just days after the young mother's initial disappearance, stating, "It was definitely her. I am 110% sure." A Peoria Police Department officer also reported seeing her. A woman even reported that she spent time with Christina in a local mental hospital where the traumatized missing girl related details about her life as a forced sex worker. And yet, according to the Peoria Police Department's officer Doug Burgess, in a 2012 interview that he gave, he said, "We don't have any information that she's in this area." He did discuss the probable police sighting. According to Burgess, a female looking similar to Christina ran from a PPD narcotics officer after he made initial contact with her. As a result, the officer could not confirm her identity. The official narrative from the Peoria police has evolved over the years. On November 21st, 2018, they posted a Crime Stoppers video about Christina's disappearance via its Facebook page. In the video, Detective Cheryl Stinson spoke briefly about confirmed sightings in Peoria over the years, offering a $1,000 reward to anyone with information leading to Christina's location. After vanishing with very few traces, Christina Whitaker left behind Alexandria, her mother, and hundreds of unanswered questions. On the 10th anniversary of her disappearance, the KHQA ran a story revisiting the case. Reporter Raja Maples interviewed Christina's mother and 2 officers from the Hannibal Police Department, Lieutenant Jennifer Grote and Lieutenant Jacob Naki. Grote has handled this case from day one. She said that the Hannibal Police has interviewed more than 200 people in connection to this investigation, including individuals incarcerated for other crimes. She states the family has their DNA registered through the National Missing Persons and Unidentified Persons System, a nationwide database where unidentified remains get matched with missing persons called NAMIS. About 2 months into the initial investigation, the FBI even stepped in. Grote remarked, "They said we had done more than what they would have done in some instances because some of the leads that we follow up on are like psychics and just very strange and odd tips." The collaborations wouldn't end there, though. More than 45 different Mississippi River are powerful, making swimming to safety nearly impossible. The river also represents an ideal location for those considering suicide or homicide. When bodies end up in the water, accidentally or intentionally, fast-moving currents wash them hundreds of miles or more downstream. Others in this Reddit thread note the rural nature of Hannibal's setting. Had Christina tried to walk home through the woods? Maybe she fell down, broke something. Hypothermia may have set in. The Almanac reports that on November 13th, 2009, Hannibal experienced a low of 39.9 degrees Fahrenheit. Is that cold enough to kill somebody, though? Live Science reports that between 30 and 50 degrees Fahrenheit, body temperatures can drop dangerously low. Factors like sweating and inebriation speed up this process. According to an article called Alcohol and Cold by researcher P.O. Granberg, alcohol is the dominant cause in urban hypothermia. Nature kind of remains a wild card in all of this. But she's never been found. With so many twists and turns in this case, it's pretty easy to say that the disappearance of Christina Whitaker will probably remain unsolved, but her mom says she will never lose hope. I mean, that's my baby. I'll never give up on her, and I still feel like she's out there. You think about the movies, you see somebody missing, you know where they're at, the police just barge in and get them. Just whenever God's will, when he's ready to bring her home, he will. I think people need to realize how important it is that it's Christina. She's still missing. People out there know. They know what happened to her. I discovered this case when I read an article about a documentary that is being released on Discovery Plus. It is called Relentless, and it details a filmmaker's obsession with finding out what really happened to Christina. A woman named Christina Fontana. Her quest began in 2007 while working on a separate documentary on the families of the missing from across the country. In 2010, she met Christina's parents, which left a lasting impression on her, and she said it could not be ignored. She said, quote, "The thing that struck me so much about Christina's story and case was the passion and tenacity her mom had for finding her. And she still had active leads," end quote. She told Fox News she was out there with her husband following up on these leads. They felt like they were on their own, and they were just so passionate about finding her. And I got caught up in that passion, and I shifted a lot of my focus from the original documentary to Christina's story. Now, as I said, Relentless is streaming on Discovery Plus. It apparently is like, I haven't watched it yet, but like 400 hours of footage that this woman has filmed and come up with about this case. And if I had Discovery Plus, I would be watching it because I want to know. But if you have any information about Christina Whitaker's whereabouts, please contact the Hannibal Police Department at 573-221-8255. that she fell. I don't know. It's very strange to me that there's been all these sightings of her, and if a girl was at a mental hospital supposedly with her, why don't we have like verification of that? Like, where's the confirmation? These places have records. Couldn't they look back and see if someone with her name was there? Oh my gosh, that is a very loud truck. Sorry, I really try to film at times when it's quiet, but anyway, I'm not really sure what happened to Christina. I don't really have an explanation to give you guys about what